The argument started over money. It always did. We were sitting in the living room, my parents on the couch, me standing near the door like I already knew how this would end. My father's voice was loud. My mother's was sharp. "You owe us," my father said. "After everything we've done for you." I asked him to explain. He didn't. Instead, my mother slammed a folder onto the table. Inside were handwritten numbers. Rent. Utilities. Groceries. Even birthday gifts from years ago, listed like unpaid debts. "You think raising you was free?" she snapped. My chest tightened. "You never said any of this was a loan." My father stood up. "It is now." Then he shouted the words I'll never forget. "Pay up or leave this family. Your choice." The room went silent. I looked at them, really looked. No hesitation. No doubt. Just control. For years, I'd helped quietly. Covered bills when they were short. Took care of paperwork. Gave them money without keeping track. It was never enough. "You're selfish," my mother said. "Your siblings don't act like this." Of course they didn't. They were never asked to pay. I asked one question. "If I pay, will it ever be enough?" They didn't answer. That was my answer. I nodded slowly. "Okay." They both relaxed, thinking they'd won. "I'll leave," I said. My mother laughed. "You're bluffing." I wasn't. I walked to my room, packed a single suitcase, and came back out within 10 minutes. My father's smile faded. "You're really doing this?" he asked. "Yes." "You'll regret it," my mother said coldly. "Don't come crawling back." I paused at the door. "I won't," I said. "Because this isn't a family. It's a transaction." I left with $50, a suitcase, and something I'd never had before. Freedom. What they didn't know was that walking out wasn't the end. It was the moment everything started changing. I slept on a friend's couch that night. No comfort. No pity. Just silence. And for the first time in years, the silence didn't hurt. The next morning, I turned my phone off and went to work like nothing had happened. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't post anything. I didn't ask for help. I just moved forward. Within a week, I found a small room to rent. Cheap. Bare. Mine. I took extra shifts. Cut every unnecessary expense. I stopped sending money home, something I'd never done before. That's when the calls started. First from my mother. "We didn't mean it like that. Come home and we'll talk." Then my father. "You're being dramatic." I didn't respond. A month passed. Then 2. My bank account grew slowly, but steadily. My confidence grew faster. At work, I was noticed. Not because I was loud, but because I was reliable. Promotions followed. Responsibility followed. Independence followed. 3 months after I left, my parents showed up at my workplace. Unannounced. I watched them through the glass doors before letting them in. My mother looked tired. My father looked angry. "You embarrassed us," my father said. "Leaving like that." I smiled politely. "You told me to choose." My mother's voice softened. "We didn't think you'd actually go." "That's the problem," I replied. They asked about my job. My rent. My plans. I answered carefully. Briefly. Because they were no longer entitled to details. When my mother finally asked, "So, when are you coming back?" I shook my head. "I'm not." Her face fell. My father scoffed. You think you're better than us now? No, I said calmly. I think I'm free. They left without saying goodbye. That night, I realized something important. They didn't miss me. They missed the control. And the more stable I became, the more powerless they felt. Because the child they thought they could threaten had chosen themselves instead. 6 months passed. Then 9. Life didn't suddenly become easy, but it became honest. I paid my own rent. Cooked my own meals. Made decisions without fear of being punished for them. Every small win felt bigger than anything I'd achieved while trying to please my parents. And then the call came. From my aunt. Your parents are struggling, she said carefully. Bills. Debt. They're asking about you. I felt nothing at first. No anger. No guilt. Just distance. A week later, my parents reached out directly for the first time since they'd shown up at my workplace. This time, they didn't accuse. They asked. Can we talk? Against my better judgment, I agreed, on my terms. Public place. Limited time. They arrived early. Older. Smaller. The authority they once carried was gone. My mother spoke first. We didn't think you'd survive on your own. I let that sink in. I didn't survive, I said. I grew. My father cleared his throat. We need help. Just temporarily. There it was. The transaction again. I leaned forward. Before I answer, I need to ask something. When you told me to pay up or leave, did you think I mattered either way? They didn't respond. That was answer enough. I won't give you money, I said calmly. But I also won't fight you. This ends here. My mother started crying. We're still your parents. Yes, I said. But I'm not your investment plan. My father's voice hardened. After everything we sacrificed. I stood up. You didn't sacrifice, I said quietly. You charged interest. I left cash on the table, for my coffee only, and walked out. That was the last time we spoke. Not because I was cruel. But because I finally understood something. Love that comes with threats isn't love. Months later, I signed a lease on my own apartment. Bigger. Brighter. Peaceful. I framed a single sentence and hung it by the door. Choosing yourself is not abandonment. Sometimes I still think about that night, the yelling, the ultimatum, the fear. And I'm grateful. Because if they hadn't screamed pay up or leave this family, I might never have realized I was allowed to choose myself. They thought I would break. Instead, I walked away. And that choice didn't cost me a family. It gave me a life.